Well, okay.
All
And then
right.
she announces, I don't know if everybody can hear that, but she announces recording in progress. Good morning. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Tammy.
Good morning, Julie, and everybody. Thanks for viewing.
So I'm going to just shift. We had a whole conversation right before we started this about positioning, so that's why I was over here.
Just doing the casual lean.
We'll see if it makes a difference, but
There was a reason for it. Yeah.
and I just realized I turned my air up last night, higher so that I would conserve. And I'm drinking coffee and I'm like, so hot right
Oh.
now. All right. So if you see me fanning, like, was that way too much information for you? I don't know. All right.
It happens.
So here we are. I can't believe it's like almost mid-August. Crazy,
I
right?
know. I know. Just when you say that, almost mid-August, that is, I know we know time is relevant, but man, it just,
It is relative, and whatever. Time is time.
yeah.
As long as time isn't money.
Yeah, right.
All right. So Tammy and I always we discuss a few things sometimes before we start. And sometimes we're just like, how's it going, and lighting and things like that. And we do have two questions today from Daphne. And so we are going to go into those. But before we do, if you're just wondering, well, who are these women? We are two psychic moms. And we actually, I don't know that we really ever talked about this, but we independently worked at East West Bookstore. And so we knew each other from East West, but I don't think we'd ever met until after we both left, after there was a mass exodus from East West. And we just realized that we had this connection and we liked doing this together. I don't even remember how it came about, but it did. Oh, because I think we were doing it on Higher Healing.
Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm. That was
And
it.
we liked it, and we're like, oh, let's do more of it. So that's how we came to be Two Psychic Mom. Yeah.
Mhm.
So
Yeah. And you know what, Julie, I'm just going to say, so funny that you're saying that, because Julie and I often talk how we connect a lot, without like thinking about or discussing things, which, happens anyway, right? For some people, but yeah, we seem to have that. But it's funny because I, I'm trying to recall it exactly, but I had this that was going in my head about how we met, and then at the bookstore, and I was imagining that we were talking about that. So I'm just like, just when he started talking about, oh my God, that's so weird, because I've been thinking about that. So anyway, that was great. I guess we were meant to it was meant to be mentioned. Yeah, just funny.
it is. Yeah, I think we're just really. I think that just happens for us.
Yeah,
It's like,
yeah,
oh, I must have heard Tammy thinking that
yeah,
somehow.
exactly, or vice versa, or whatever. Exactly. Yeah, it's really funny.
It does happen. It happens often to me, and I'm sure it does to you as well. So
Yeah. And I would like to go a little bit more on that, because I think it is good to know. I mean, some people who may be new, to this, Julie and I, as she said, we work independently. We both have our own businesses and giving intuitive readings. And then we have other things with that for each of us, kind of thing within that. But we do give sessions and are open for sessions. So that's where we can go to how to get a hold of us. And for me, tammy'sintuitive.com is the best way. All my information is on there, including a contact form. And then I do some channel messages on my social media, which is under Tammy's Intuitive Services on Instagram and Facebook. I also have another YouTube channel on Tammy's Channel Chats, which is, Julie and I do our thing too. And then I also do some channeling on that. So that's, for me, that's probably the best way that you can find me. And for Julie, I won't even try, because I don't know which way it is.
I think it's the opposite way. I think it would be.
Is it?
Yeah, I think we'll go back and watch. Because when I watch it, when we're recording, you're on my left, but when I go back and watch it, you're
Yeah.
on my right.
Oh,
So
that's funny.
it's really
Oh, that's weird. Yeah. I'll never figure it out. So I'll just go.
even things like this. Anyway, yeah, I resisted channeling for a really, really, really long time. I've been giving readings for years and years, and then when the pandemic hit, they're like, you need to channel, we have things to say. And I'm like, mm-hmm. No, you need to channel. We have things to say. And I'm like, hmm. And I just resisted. And then finally I was like, okay, I broadcasted it out there, questions, and had a big call. It was a well-attended call. And from there, just decided to put them up on my YouTube. So I also have a YouTube channel, which is the Biz Psychic. And they're just different. They're just different. Our slant is really as whatever spirit hands us as two psychic moms and our furry cats, and the occasional question, which is what we'll talk about today. And my Biz Psychic slant on YouTube does tend to be a little bit more, I'm going to say political, but I don't really think that it's just more cosmic, universal, political. Yeah, I think that's just because those are the people who ask the questions, not because that's where we want to go. They're saying it's just that's the questions that come up. So, okay, whew, I think I'm cooling down now. So of course it doesn't help to drink a cup of hot coffee. So
Pour yourself right back up.
so we're going to start with and Daphne's questions are kind of a range, and I love them for that matter. So
yes, thank you, Daphne, again.
Yes, and so you see, we will answer. So please submit your questions, and her questions tend to be long. So I'm going to cut this a little bit, and basically what she wrote in this one is, she asked initially, will Biden's tax reform go through? Well, to be honest with you, I don't know. I don't really know what tax reform we're talking about here. And when I started to read that, they said to me, you're missing the bigger picture. Because she then went into, I feel like his tax reform is going to benefit certain people, but the East Coast and the West Coast, because we're very high income, high cost of living, it affects us differently, and so it doesn't always benefit us in the ways that we think. This is what they're saying, and so she says, still seems to me it's still the middle class he is targeting, and it will hurt California and New York a lot. His tax reform is not taking into account what it costs to live in these states. Well, all right, so we're going to say that that's true of everywhere. And when I first opened up, they said to me, and I started reading this, they said to me, oh, you're missing the bigger picture. So we want to go into the bigger picture a little bit, because the bigger picture is, obviously he cannot please everybody all the time. There is a very wide spectrum in your country, from the very, we don't want to say, well, yes, the very, very, very rich, and that's not really gonna, is not part of this conversation, to the very poor. So there is quite a spectrum. And what we want you to understand is, this goes to the bigger picture of the way things are structured and the way things are happening now in your country politically, in terms of politics. It's just politics, and they're saying then the lust for power and the fight over who is in power, who will stay in power. And each side, each of the parties makes the other one the demon. And the fact of the matter is, we want you to think about your planet. Mm-hmm. Because if you don't fix your planet, it doesn't matter everything will go down the drain. Forget about tax cuts. And that is really the highest top priority, and staying and keeping a democratic rule. If part of this is me wanting to step out of the way and let them speak. If you as a country do not come together and stop the pettiness and stop the name calling and stop the power plays and allow people to have their right to vote. That is what is in your constitution. That was what is in the 1964 Civil Rights Act, among many other things. You will lose the right to your democracy as you know it. And we talked a little bit about this last week for you, so we don't want to go into it too much, but that is the bigger picture. And so we would say to you, you have more power than you think. Please do not give up. Please call your state legislators, your on the low level, on the lowest level of council people, of districts, of Congress people, all of them, and say and complain that you need to voice your right to vote and that this is your constitutional right. And I'm telling you, they're telling me, if you don't voice that, you're facing bigger problems than a tax cut, worrying about a tax cut. So this is it's a big issue for me personally, and so I kind of have to work to stay out of that a little bit so that I can allow their message to come through to you. And I hopefully you got that. It's just a bigger picture, and that the knowledge and understanding that truly your democracy is at risk. So there you have it. Tammy and Tammy's guides, anything you want to add?
Well,
they may want to add something later, but
yeah, please jump in if you do, because I mean, I always say that I don't do, things really very political. And I will say the same for this. I think this is, I'm going to let Julie kind of have that, that, not let, you know what I mean? What Julie had to say is great. And I think I would agree that there's a bigger picture probably beyond that. I can understand the concerns, because if you break it down, there's so many concerns in the world. And there's no easy answers to them, is what I'm getting. So I would agree with, if nothing else, it's letting your voice be heard and, trying to make the change that you can do for yourself, but also for a cause, any cause that you're into. So yeah, I'm just going to rest with Julie on that, because I usually just don't get things on that. I swear it's probably a past lifetime I've had with politics. Maybe I'm just like done with them. I don't know.
Well, and they're saying we understand your desire to not be pulled into anything dramatic or controversial, and to keep it at a higher level vibration. So
yeah, it could be, because if I think about what really makes me, and I know some might say, well, not to be at all political means that you're just not. Some might put that down, saying you're not caring, you're not part of the solution and all of those things. But I think we have the people who are there on the planet who are really, willing to go that fight, in a sense. I'm just really not that much in this lifetime. It doesn't matter right or wrong on that. It's just me. That's really just how I am. Even I'm puzzled over it. So I'm looking down my phone because I'm reading. If it's okay to go to Daphne's other question for you.
Let me just finish up real quick here, because and they're saying, and that's fine. Everybody has their pathway. We understand that completely. Where were they going to go? They were going to go someplace. They said, so I was walking today with my friend, and as we were walking in the morning, and sometimes we talk about politics, and sometimes we're like, we don't want to talk about that at all. And all we discussed was, if there were things that were done illegally, then those people need to be punished, just as you or I would be punished. It is clearly talked about that nobody is above the law. And so they're saying to me, we want you to voice this so that you hold that container of accountability,
Mhm.
because otherwise
Mhm.
you have no idea what you're in for. Okay, that's all I'm going to say.
Yeah. Well,
It scares me.
makes sense to me. I mean, it just does. So that's great. Thank you.
All right. So, and I have not read either of these questions. This is just now. So,
Yeah.
so
So I mean, I can start it out for you and then whatever, we both have to say for it. So Daphne's question, this is a little tricky too, because there's not really, again, an easy answer to this necessarily, but I totally get the dilemma. A lot of people who have gardens, and meaning gardening, you're growing vegetables and so forth, and the little critters are coming along and they're eating them all, and you kind of like to enjoy some of them. And so Daphne is kind of talking about that. So just kind of, I'll get to pieces of it. So basically, she's yeah. So she's had a colony of mice that have come in and been eating every fruit, tomato from her garden before they can get to it. She doesn't mind sharing, but they're taking everything, which would be annoying. And gophers have been digging things up, killing some of the plants. She has done her best to ask them to move
Mhm,
and to not be here and to leave her garden alone, which
mhm.
is great. I would say, Daphne, and to anybody, it's a really good start to telepathically send. I will say that the times I've tried to do those things, does it work all the time? Not always, because they're going to do too what they want to do. They may get the message. It's just like our own animals, domesticated animals, who may or may not want to do what we're asking them to do. But it's good to do that, to send the information to them. Let me see here. Okay, so she's done some other deterrents, coffee grinds, I think you have here. If I said that right, let me see, just lost the place of where I was. Yeah, coffee grinds, soap shavings, which is a good idea. I've read about those things too, but nothing seems to work. What's the best way to communicate with these animals to ask them to leave? So let's start there. It's a great question. And
Mhm.
if I go in for myself with my guides, well, okay, they're saying what I just mentioned. Start talking to them on a telepathic level is what I'm hearing first of all. They will listen. However, they may not understand completely your complaint. I'm just laughing because I would never have thought that. And so you need to tell them why. Now they're referencing like what I don't know, child psychologists, I'm just guessing, might tell a parenting class, which is you need to sometimes explain to the child why there's no, why you're saying no. Now, some may beg to differ on that and say, my gosh, in my generation, we just said, my parents just said no, and that was it. But the point is that if a child understands a little bit behind the no, 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 then they might have more compassion or understand it a little better. We can kind of guess that's what that's about, right? So that's kind of what they're saying, about the animals. So maybe if you add, Daphne, if you add to them exactly why, and maybe you have, but if you haven't, try doing that as well, sending kind of that message just as to why that. You might do visuals. I really believe in doing visuals as well as the telepathic messages. So send visuals maybe of you enjoying it as well. Maybe there's a table and that little gopher sitting at the table eating off his plate, and you're sitting right next to him eating off yours. And you're both talking very excitedly and enjoying it together. So then they get the point that, oh, it's sharing. Maybe, she wants to eat some of this too. So they are giving that. Okay, so first of all, just send, some visuals and some telepathic communication, which sounds like you have, but we'll see how that goes. Maybe the visuals, I would say, to add to that. How can I connect with them? Well, if we get more specific about that, sit down, take some deep breaths. You can maybe even imagine that sweet little gopher or that colony of mice sitting in front of you. I would say that's the first thing to do. And then go ahead and send them some love, send them some hearts, however you want to do that, big heart energies of love. And then I would start the communication that you are connecting with their vibration. You can start out with, hello, do you hear me? Telepathically, and see if you get a response from them. You most likely will. It's not difficult for any of us to ever connect with somebody else's energy. We do it all the time. So, see what they say back to you. And if there's an answer, go forward more with the conversation a bit at a time. Listen and maybe take some time to hear what they may have to say in response to you. Okay, I love this because I love fairies. I love the elementals. So she asked, well, asking garden fairies help? Yes, I'm gonna let my guides say this one because I would say yes, but our guides are saying yes, they can help. You might have a conversation with the fairies as well. And those that are protecting your garden or in your garden, have a talk with them as well, maybe for support. They will let okay, I just had a really funny visual. They just showed me one of the fairies, reminds me of like what Tinkerbell would do or something. But like she stands in front of the gopher, she's got her hands on her hips like this. And she's saying, hey, big guy. That's what I just heard. I know what you're here after. But she, pointing to like Daphne, is not wanting you to eat all of the, there's this like tough love. These fairies are like, telling them exactly what it's like. Will the animals hear them? Yes, they will. So yes, I would just say garden fairies, but have a conversation with the fairies first, just like you would the animals, and maybe ask for that help any way they can do that. So she says, if communicating and connecting won't work, what's the best way to get rid of them humanely? That I'm getting the big word. Oh, well, maybe you would know exactly. I'm getting Google. So do think about that seriously. Like, you probably already have. But as far as humane ways to do it, we're all about the energy work. We're all about the communication. Sometimes that doesn't work because again, I'm going to say every being has their own little personality. Some are going to be more game players, team players. Others are going to be like, don't think so. I'm doing what I want to do. And if I want to eat that juicy, whatever that is, then I'm going to do it. So that's what I'm kind of getting. And then, yeah, and I would seriously, you probably have, but if you haven't, I would really, really look at humane ways to keep them. It looks like you've tried some of them. So at this point, I would just say maybe the more that communication and asking for not only which I think was a fabulous idea, how you came up with a garden fairy. So it really is good. And then really just any of your guides and angels that can come in and help with that as well in the communication with them.
Yes.
So that's what I'm receiving.
Yes, the latter part. Ask your guides
Yeah.
to communicate with them as well.
Yeah.
I don't have anything to add energetically, or my guides are saying anything else other than to ask your guides. That's a really
Yeah.
However, they're so right in that it's like, why should we? You're telling us no, but why should we care, right? This is a free for all. I mean, look, it's sitting there waiting for us. So, and so I'm not going to say I'm the wrong person for this, and my guides have stepped back for a moment to allow me to just say this, but because I have battled ants, and I just said I've done everything I can. We've talked about it. And they're worse than ever this year. And I just said, Orkin. And that's the way it is. In fact, they're coming out today because because I've had them straying in the house. So there just is a time and a place where I'm like, I'm just done. I'm done being polite, Now, in terms of mice and gophers, I certainly have my share of both. There are like holes in my front yard. It's I don't know how my gardener navigates it. So maybe he just knows. Anyway, and then the cats have chased the mice away. So for the most part, have chased them away. So
yeah.
So that's the natural way to do that. It's survival of the fittest, right? The gophers go for whatever, the mice go for whatever they're going for, the cats and go for the mice, and et cetera, et cetera. So somebody did tell me, my neighbor did tell me about something that I think you can buy at maybe Home Depot. If not, I'm sure you can look up, I'm sure Amazon has it. Something like, not Gopher Be Gone, but there is a, um, and I want to say it's vibrational, we can't hear it. And I have tried those things that you plug in to get rid of the ants and the spiders, and they laugh at me. I mean, they don't work. I think they've just taken up energy. I'm gonna
Good to know. Yeah, good to know.
Yeah, they don't work. But apparently these gopher things do work. So look for those kinds of, um, again, I don't know whether you plug it in. I think you plug it in and it emits a vibration of some kind or a sound that they can hear.
I think I have heard of those or seen those or something.
But it's not the plug-in ones that you stick in your, it's different. It's like Gopher Be Gone or something. It's specifically for gophers. They just loved your visuals. They were fabulous of what's no, and sharing the table with you. Well, we'll think about that. It's, our life is a hard one, and we can see an easy way to get a meal, we take it.
Yeah.
The best thing you can do is to make it as hard as possible for them to get it, which my understanding is a lot of screening. You put a lot of screens around the vegetables, and that's maybe the hardest way for them to get to it.
Yeah, that's a good point, Julie.
It's like, if they're looking at your house or the one next door that's got the open growth of vegetables, and that one's easier to access, they'll go to that one. So it's just making it as hard as possible for them to get to the meal.
Yeah.
They're like, from the higher perspective, we think nothing of encroaching on their world and thinking that they're in the wrong and that this is our world, and pardon my French, but fuck you to the rodent, I don't think it's really French, but anyway, I don't know why people say that.
I'm sure there's a French word for it. Yes.
Sure, it's
Anyway. I know what it is in German.
Maybe that's it.
But I'm not gonna say.
So they're like, this is, again, it's kind of survival of the fittest, and you do think nothing as humans about building all over our land and driving us underground or driving us out. So if we can get to a meal, it's truly just a survival instinct. And while I personally, from a human level, appreciate and understand your complaint to that, it's really just about making it as hard as you can, and then for them to access it so that they'll move to someplace that's easier. And then, in the Buddhist tradition, they put a food offering out. Now, if you do that, you're inviting a lot of other animals to partake of that. I mean, I used to put cat food out for the stray cats in my backyard. And then pretty soon I had opossums eating, and I had raccoons, and I had skunks. And while I enjoy the wildlife, I kind of had to draw the line. So, so I don't put it out anymore. But you might want to do that during this time of year while you're growing, and you might even think about getting a cheap bag of cat food for them. They'll eat it.
Yeah, sort of a deterrent, right? Is maybe something else that takes away. And may I add something that I forgot that I'd gotten previous for Daphne especially, is that my guide said that you also, like it or not, you also have an agreement to help to feed them. And I went, oh, I thought, well, that's probably true for a lot of situations like that, right? Karmically, sort of, we'll say, there might be this agreement that you're there to feed them, even though you would like to enjoy some of that as well. So anyway, I did want to mention that. Also, I know way back many years ago, my husband and I, in another home we were in, very old home, we started getting all these mice coming into the house, and he did buy those. Again, you probably know about them, but those humane mice traps that you just put a little something in, and the door just shuts on them. It's not a killer. and then you can transport them to someplace else. At that point, there was an empty lot way down the street, and we let them go there. It was really sweet of my husband to do that. And they're not hurt, they're not harmed, they're just trapped in there until you move them. And we were very successful with that. But of course, again, you have to have a place that makes sense to do that and everything. So, but I thought I'd just mention that as well. But it makes sense, Julie, everything you're saying too about, just try to make it as difficult as possible for them to get to it.
And they are saying, again, you can try the cat food too, but, or it could be dog food for that matter. It doesn't really, I don't think they're picky. It's just, I meant to close my email, so I'm going to do it now so it doesn't make noise. It's just, you invite others as well, so you just have to be careful about that. But yeah, we agree with you. You do have an agreement with them, as do all humans. You are caretakers not only of this planet, but its inhabitants.
Yeah,
So
agreed.
I get your irritation though.
I know it's not. Yeah, it's like I said at the beginning. It's not. There's no real easy answers, but I hope that helps you in just kind of looking at some practical solutions and also possible solutions and spiritual, of the communication, and explaining a little bit more as to maybe why it's.
And they've said this 2 or 3 times now. So when I hear it this many times, I have to say it, and they're being a little cheeky, if you don't mind. They're saying, the early bird does get the worm. You need to go pick your fruits and vegetables very early in the morning or very late at night when they're ripe, because that's when they go. You go out by the time it's breakfast time or dinner time, and you're like, where did it all go?
Yeah.
So because they're up and at them very early in the morning, getting the pick.
Yeah. Well, that's a good point. So imagine you're just one of them. That's what you got to kind of think like they do.
God,
The sun is rising. I got to go pick it.
So so I guess is that it for the questions? Yes.
Yes, I think so. Yes.
So on another note, I'm going to say I need some help. I excuse me. Anybody have any good contractors they can refer?
Yeah, that helps to ask that question. Yeah.
Am looking to build a deck in the back and then an enclosed patio, which I'm just going to be really honest, is really a catio. And so I have put it out to at least 6 contractors, and I've gotten one to come out and look, and otherwise he hasn't responded. And maybe they just don't need the work. I don't know, but it's really irritating. So
yes.
My guides are like, well, why don't you just ask us? You just need to be really persistent. Like, oh, okay. I can do that. I can be very persistent.
Yeah. No, it's true. You do have to be pretty persistent because so many of them are really busy right now. But yeah, that's good to put that out there in case anybody can refer somebody. Yeah.
So that's it for me. Any cat news stories? I don't think
Not for me, really. Just, yeah.
Either.
Things that nobody wants to hear about.
Well, I will share this, and it's probably nobody wants to hear about it either. So I have 2 friends on my street, and both of them have cats who have, I just can't say it any nice. There's no way to say this. They pee outside of the litter box, right? They pee on the carpet. They pee in places they shouldn't pee. And I knock on wood all day long that I don't have any cat. I have 8 cats and not one of them
That's good.
does anything really bad. I'm so lucky. And so so I'm going to ask my guides about this, and maybe we can ask your guides, because I truly, there are reasons cats do that, and sometimes it's a physical health problem. And I've been getting for both of them, well, they're different situations. One, as you know, I've talked about Bob. he is FIV positive, and so he has a multitude of physical problems, and so he may have other issues that it is making him do that. We feel that his reason for doing this is more of a physical reason.
Mhm.
And then the other one for my other neighbor, his is it's a behavioral issue. And you can give your cats Prozac. You have to get a prescription from the vet. And certainly there are probably holistic alternatives to Prozac. I have yet to find one. I've used Rescue Remedy for pets, and I don't think it really helps, to be honest with you. I've used a whole bottle, not a whole bottle at one time, but I've gone through bottles.
Just to clear that, yeah.
And I've used the calming things, and
Uh,
there's something deeper in their behavior than like aromatherapy will handle.
mhm.
And so we would say that there are times for medications for your pets, and if it's not a bad thing. It's just not. And Prozac is it's a very old, well-tested pharmaceutical that has been used for many years for pets as well as humans. And so I've mentioned that to both of my friends, but they're not inclined to want to go that direction so they clean up. And I just think, but wouldn't it be so much easier to just sprinkle some of that on their food, and it calms the anxiety and the depression that comes with these problems that these cats are having. Again, I think with Bob, it's a physical issue that needs to be addressed. He can have many issues based on his FIV.
How old is he, Julie? How old is
I
Bob?
think Bob is about 9, and then Smokey is even, I think, older than that.
Okay.
But Smokey was originally born outside, and he has sprayed inside the house when he was brought inside, and still continues, I think, to act out some of that behavior. And even though he's confined to a certain area and he has adjusted to being in the house,
Interesting.
I think he's still not quite really as adjusted as
Yeah.
one would think.
If you don't mind me saying, I'm just things that are popping in here. Smoky, smoky, smoky. Yeah, I got that twice. Feels a little disoriented to me.
Well, he's been inside in this room, and he's let out of the room, but he's been inside for a long time now. So it's,
Yeah. So what I mean, I guess maybe I should define that more. What I was getting is more like, somebody, that's why I wondered if he was a lot older, somebody who's kind of just confused. There's some kind of confusion in the brain a little bit. And so the reason Smokey pees outside the litter box. Okay, I think he has senior moments. I'm going to call them senior moments, is what we hear that term often, where he and we mean no disrespect to seniors,
no, we
because I think I'm in that category now. I don't know number wise, but you know what we mean by that. I think I'm just picking up something with that. That's what I mean about the confusion, disorientation, and yeah, I don't think it's anything. I mean, I think he knows where he's at, in his home, like you said, but I picked up a little bit of that. And I would just jump to Bob and say that Bob, yeah, I agree, is like a physical problem. And then I would just like to add, really, I don't have anything for me more to say this, but also one of my cats has urinary tract, has the crystals in the bladder, has had that. So he is on urinary food, SO, Royal Canin specifically. So when we have that was a godsend. I mean, it really, really helped because he was starting to do that, pee outside a little bit of his litter box. So for him, it was a physical ailment.
Okay, this is getting a little too graphic now. And if you're done with this part of the
We love you. Thank you for joining us.
Noticing that when he peed in the box, that it was very foamy. And I'm like, well, I've never seen that because
Oh, that's interesting. That's
So-
interesting. And this was Bob, you said, when he was in the box, it was foamy. Interesting, because I don't know that I ever saw that with mine, with that particular thing, but it could be something. I feel there was some burning too when you first were talking about it, like a little bit of burning for him. So it could just be the discomfort keeps him maybe from not wanting to do the whole thing of going inside. I'm not really sure what that is, but yeah.
Well, Bob is a complex. There's a lot of moving parts there for Bob.
Mm.
And yeah, he's having he has an appointment, I guess, in another 10 days or so. So,
Okay.
but I mean, it's like until then, he may be in pain. You're going to have to wait, whatever the story
Yeah.
is. That's the way it is. So,
Well, you know what they just added too, if this helps, is that he's withholding his pee, basically. So that could be pain. There could be something going on there. Because I got that too. So Mikey doesn't want to have to go. And I think my Teddy was doing that as well. He kind of was, I could tell it's like, he didn't really want to, because it hurts. It
yeah.
hurts when when we've got those. So I don't know if that's what he has, but Bob has, but I did hear that as well.
I do sense that there's a lot of physical moving parts to him, and that this is not going to be the last of it. It's just he's probably in the latter stages of this disease, and while he is so happy and grateful to have been, and he is, and I need to share this with my friend, he is so grateful that he was allowed to be rescued and come in and be loved. And he says, I feel bad that I do this. I don't know of another way.
Yeah. I believe that, because they don't like it. I mean, they really don't. That's not natural for them to do that. So it's upsetting for them as well, even.
All right. Well, thank
Yeah.
you. Thank you to our guides.
Yes.
And thank you to you for tuning in, for your questions, for your support, for your sharing.
Mhm. We
It
appreciate
means
that.
so much to us. It really
Yeah.
does. We are so grateful for that.
Yeah. So send us more, and send Julie any contractors you might know that will do a catio, who are willing to build a catio.
One that's responsible and cares enough to answer my text or my phone call. And it's just, I don't get it.
Yeah, I know. We're going through some of that same thing too for our backyard. So.
And I know that's the way it is, because I was telling that to my friend when she was screening painters, and I'm like, it's the way. It is the way, as the Mandalorian or whoever is in the Mandalorian says, it is the way, or whatever it is. But it's an irritating way, and
Yeah.
rude. So
Yeah.
All right. Until next time, we are two psychic moms, and you know how to find us. If you found this, you know how to find the other ones, and we're open for readings, private readings, and keep sending those questions. We love them.
Yeah.
And anything else you want to add, Tammy, my friend?
No, just thank you for viewing us. We really appreciate it. If you want to share us anytime, feel free to do so. But we welcome those questions. It's fun for us to have that kind of topic to kind of channel on it, and hopefully some good information comes through for you. So
I'm not going to be humble here. I'm going to say we are trying to grow our subscribership. I mean, generally, I'm like, oh, I don't want to brag. I don't want to boast. I don't want to post or promote, but I'm just going to be honest. We'd like to grow our followership, our subscribership. And the only way to do that is word of mouth. So,
yeah.
So there we have it, which means I need to get on and go promote it to my people. And I can't just sit here and say that and not walk my talk. So I'm going to.
We appreciate you. Thank you so much for taking time to watch us, and have a good week, right? We'll see you next week.
See you next time.
Bye-bye.